Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Draped in Gold. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined by special guest, Stay Fly Life, Neesin the Kid. Neesin, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Oh man, I'm doing everything's great when you get to end your day, start your night talking about professional wrestling with the professional over here, Jack Farmer, man. This is great. And being on Draped in Gold, it's been a time. It's been a
Yeah,
time.
we were talking before we went on the air how long it's been since we've chatted, and it's been too long. As memory serves, you're still technically the reigning and defending meaningless debate champion. To bring up an old an old show.
Yes, I am. I think was Mimi the last person I beat, maybe? I don't know,
Yeah.
but hey, I'm not counting or anything, just the champ is here.
One of these days, I got to bring that back. I got
Yeah.
lazy, but that was a fun show. For those who are unaware, it was we made. I brought up meaningless lists and we debated about how accurate they were, and the fans voted and decided. Neesin, you were unstoppable for a while there.
Man, it was a great time. It was a great time.
But I appreciate you being on while Flobo Boyce is out gallivanting and not working.
Right. Just lazy being just traveling the world, going to different baseball stadiums and stuff, just making me jealous on his Instagram. That's all.
Doesn't know what a day's hard work is, that Flobo Boys, but we will have a good show anyways. I want to thank everyone who's joining us here in the chat as we kick things off. We've got like Danny C, Chris Bricks, thanks for coming through. You guys are in for a treat of a show. Let's get into the nitty gritty, Neesin, and let's get into the news of the week. And the big news of the week, unfortunately, was Rajah Jackson and his I guess we'll call it assault on Psycho Stu at Knox Pro, a place that's pretty close to where we are, Knox Pro. We've seen a lot of this on the internet. We've seen it's in a very unfortunate situation. I don't really know a positive, fun way to talk about this, but it is the news. Any thoughts? What was your takes when you first saw the video, and any takeaways?
Yeah, I don't think it's any fun way to really talk about it. My first takeaway was, why didn't anyone stop him sooner? I think it was a lot. Like the guy hit his head. He was instantly out. My thoughts are the referee, other workers, etc. Like, why didn't they hop in sooner? Just when we all seen he got knocked out from the slam. So then this man took double number punches, right? Like double digit punches. I want to say 11 or something like that. Got all his teeth knocked out. So in this meantime, he's just taking these punches, and it just wasn't enough effort, in my opinion, from everyone else to pull him off. And that's what my first thoughts were. Like, I'm like, did he snap? And then I was like, okay, maybe, look, this he's a MMA fighter, or son of an MMA fighter, is trained to be an MMA fighter. He hopped the rail. Maybe he didn't know what he was getting into, etc. Right. And then I saw the video. Of him being on stream saying how he was about to kill the guy and how he was, really about to do him in and all this other things. And so it just went, oh, this was premeditated. And it made my stomach turn. It made it sick. And it was like, you knew what you want. And then again, it made me like, why didn't anyone jump in faster? Like, this man premeditated this attack, this assault on this other man when he knew it was a work. Like, he said it, he said, oh, professional, like, professional wrestling's fake. Like, I'm not going to do nothing fake. Like, he knew that it's a work. Right. And so, yeah, man, it was a sad day just as a professional wrestling fan and an MMA fan. And just what professional wrestling has become, I think it's been great, of like opening doors to stars and up and coming stars, allowing multiple audiences to cross over. I think when this happens, it does make, like Swerve said, he's like, maybe it is time to start gatekeeping professional wrestling. Maybe it is time to just not open it to everyone and just be like, hey, yeah, sure, you could hop in the ring. Like, hey, yeah, sure, you could XYZ. maybe you can't just hop in a Marvel movie. You can't just hop in, man. You know, like, so maybe we do need to put some gates up around that a little bit. Those are my thoughts.
No, and I agree completely because also I think when you bring someone in, and it's a very easy hindsight, right, to like look back and say this is what should have happened. But I think also you can't assume everyone knows what's going on. I think sometimes in pro wrestling, it's kind of fun to throw someone into the fire and see how they do. You know, I know when I first started in pro wrestling, my very first day, I was given a microphone and told to do ringside interviews. I had no idea what I was doing, but they kind of throw you in there and sink or swim. And I think sometimes in wrestling that people like to see that kind of reaction, but also when you have someone who is a trained fighter, you can't just let them figure it out in the heat of the moment. You know what I mean? You have to explain to them, this is what's happening. This is what we're going to do. You have to walk them through it so they know. But even to that point, even, you know, I saw the video of the beer can getting hit on his head, which was inappropriate as well. Again, something that you need to explain to someone. If this is for the show, you need to explain to him, hey, this is what's going to happen. You can't just hit someone in the head and say, hey, we're going to make something happen out of this. But, you know, if something was to happen right there, you know, physical violence is never the right answer, but it'd make you think one way. But to your point, yeah, to wait and to stew on it and to think about it. And then even still, I mean, let's say he knocks this guy out. He slams him down. He looks knocked out there. You hit him once. You hit him twice. I mean, after 3 hits at the most, how does someone not stop and say to themselves, okay, this he's out. There's nothing more to do here. And even to the point of, the referees and everyone else in the ring or in the area, at some point, how do they not go, okay, this clearly isn't the way this is supposed to go. This is clearly a dangerous situation. It shouldn't have gotten that far for a number of reasons. And it's really an unfortunate situation all around. Obviously hoping Psycho Stu the best, and hopefully he's getting well. I've heard that he's getting better, but that's just from what I've seen on Twitter.
He said he's up, but he had like a lot of his teeth knocked out and he doesn't remember anything. And, you know, that's a pretty severe concussion that I'm sure he encountered. So it's tough, man. Just thinking about it, and even, you know, it's a tough situation at no part, like it doesn't get better in any aspect. Like all parties are just going to be crushed by this for so long. I mean, we've seen the ramifications from this, from the WWE ID being disassociated with Hard Knocks Pro. We've seen, you know, it's a Rikishi thing. So, you know, I wouldn't say thank God we don't have press conferences after PLEs anymore, but you know, if Uso is on there, like that's going to get brought up. Or even just with anybody, with Triple H on there being a WWE ID former, you know, affiliate. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of ripple effects in professional wrestling, and I hope he has a speedy recovery. And you know, I do hope like he could get justice or some sort of just healing from this, man, because it's not acceptable. Like from, like you said, from the can, and then them telling him he could get his receipt, but he knew it was a word. They did say like, no, man, it's just, you know, just playing. Like that's how he's gonna hit you. That's how he's gonna do the can. You know, he deliberately knew what he was doing and took advantage of it, and that's not cool.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the WWE ID thing too, because of course that was a Southern California WWE ID school. And I looked it up after that was taken away from him. Now I think of all the talent that has no access to WWE ID here in the West Coast. The closest one to the West Coast, I believe, is Reality of Wrestling in Texas, or in Iowa, Seth Rollins' school. I'm blanking on the name, unfortunately, but
Blackcraft.
Something like that. It's but yeah, in Iowa. And so if you're someone on the western half of the United States, now you don't have access to that kind of program. And so hopefully somehow a WWE ID program gets brought over here, because I would love to have people to have that access. You think, again, these kind of things, the ramifications, obviously Psycho Stu is feeling the worst of it, but yeah, now there's so many people who have lost access that they possibly had before, or opportunities have now gone away. And it's very, a lot of ripple effects coming from this. And again, like you mentioned, like Swerve said, hopefully this means some walls get put back up on who's allowed in the locker room and who's not allowed in the locker room.
Yeah, we just seen it happen with Travis Scott in Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber, right? Like these things need to be like, either they need to be handled with care a little more. That's like, I mean, a lot more now, but like we've seen it kind of revving up to this. And as you said earlier, like it's in our backyard, you know, like it's a couple blocks away. Like I probably pass it probably every day. And it is sad to not have that connection, but I also think it's an opportunity. Maybe, you know, Santino Bros or MPW or, you know, just some other promotions that are training, you know, the next generation, or just current stars that, you know, maybe could use that look now for WWE ID. Circle 6. I know that's a little that's a little extreme, but hey,
a little outside of their wheelhouse. But still, they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of locker rooms and people who might be moving around in them, there's been rumors cropping up, Neesin, about Chris Jericho potentially leaving AEW when his contract is up and heading back to the WWE. I'm curious your thoughts on this. First off, I want to know, what's your take on Jericho? Are you a big Jericho fan? Are you not a fan? I feel like people have become very divided on Jericho over the past couple years.
Yeah, man. It's the first, you know what's sad? Like the sad part of Chris Jericho is the minute you bring up Chris Jericho, the divisiveness comes with, where were you January 6th?
Right.
That's the thing. And it sucks, man. And but besides that, and I mean, then it goes into, you know, internet allegations. But if we're just talking about the wrestler Chris Jericho, and if I'm a fan, I mean, who wasn't a fan of Y2J, right? Like, who wasn't a fan of the Ayatollah of rock and roller, right? Who wasn't, you know, who wasn't a fan of the holds list and mimicking Dean Malenko? You know, who I was a real big fan of Chris Jericho, and even in the later years, and the list, and you know, the friendship, the festival of friendships, and all the things, and just how he keeps he kept reinventing himself. I will say that I think him going back, or the chance of him going back to the WWE at the end of the year, at the top of the year, is a great headline for a Hall of Fame going into Vegas. I think if you're going to bring him back, you bring him back to put him in the Hall of Fame. You bring him back to headline the Hall of Fame going into the Vegas. If you're not going to have Cena headline going into the Hall of Fame, right? Like, so if that's what I would want to see from Chris Jericho. And yeah, man, I'm not running and searching for Chris Jericho matches in 2025. I think the Learning Tree was a decent attempt. I think the Inner Circle was great. You know, I really like the Inner Circle, but yeah, man, I love the fact he tries to reinvent himself, but I'd rather just see him go into the Hall of Fame and, you know, take his place in that hall, as he rightfully should.
Yeah, I think that Chris Jericho, when we're talking about the wrestler, the guy we see on TV, he's probably top 25 in my book of all time, as far as what he's done and how long he's been around. A memory of his that is like burned into my brain forever was way back in his WCW days when he was feuding with Dean Malenko. And I can't remember, Dean Malenko got like banished or something. He's taken off TV for a while, and then they did this like Royal Rumble or Battle Royal of luchadors, and Ciclope won and is a masked luchador, and then he takes the mask off and it's Dean Malenko. And it was I was young enough in wrestling to not have seen, like, I never saw that coming, still.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's
like,
like, what?
yeah, like nowadays I'd probably be like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. But like then I was like, whoa, I can't.
Yeah.
And so like I was just, that whole scene is just burned in my brain. It's one of the coolest things of all time for me. And he was a part of that. But I look at AEW and he can reinvent himself and he's very entertaining. So maybe he can find a way to negate what I'm about to say. But I feel like he's done everything there is to do in AEW for him. And I mean that in like the best possible way. I think he's one of the reasons AEW was able to grow. He was the first star there. He legitimized the world championship. He had great. The inner circle was like a big part of the beginning of AEW in all the best ways. And then he also started working with the lower card guys, and I think helped elevate some people there, or at least worked with a lot of people there. And I feel like, maybe I shouldn't say there's nothing for him. I should say more like for Jericho, it's like mission accomplished in AEW for him. I just don't think there's much for him.
I'll say it for you. It's nothing for him. It is mission accomplished, as you said, but it's nothing for him. Like it's
yeah.
I look, certain people when I watch professional wrestling, I don't want to worry about the person getting through the match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they are great, they're all-time great. You say top 25, the chat said top 15, I say top 37. But I think but
very specific number.
Right, you said 25. I was like, that's specific. Like maybe 37. I don't know. Let me sit down and think this out. But yeah, I think going back now, there's AEW's in this transitional period of the stars that they brought in actually becoming valuable stars. And and I guess the easiest way to say that is Hangman is now becoming the Hangman that we all wanted him to become in 2021. And we see it. Swerve is now becoming the Swerve that we saw in Black and Gold NXT. I wanted to see in Black and Gold NXT, but we saw in Defy, before he went to NXT. You were starting to see these characters really come into their own and like hold the company as a pillar. I remember the four pillars of only one that's really there is Hangman that's holding that company up, right? Like Sammy Guevara, you got Britt Baker. No one's seen Britt Baker, and then I can't remember the other one. It wasn't Danny Garcia.
There's MJF, I believe.
MJF, yeah. Which
Darby.
And Darby. No, I think it was, maybe it was, I can't remember. But I will say this about MJF, and I know where I'm kind of moving on from this, but what Chris Jericho did with MJF was incredible. What him beating Hangman and what that has allowed Hangman to become was incredible. And what we just seen on Dynamite with that promo that MJF cut after the loss to Hangman, this is the first time I felt that when I was looking at MJF, I was looking at a real professional main event heavyweight wrestler that the believability was there, and it didn't feel like he was acting like a professional wrestler. And I was like, here we go. This is the guy. But I, forget how young he was, but like, oh, he's coming into his own. This is the guy. Like he's the guy. He's a superstar now. And kudos. So I got to credit Chris Jericho to that, because that friendship that was definitely a learning block for him along the way. I'm sure he'll say the same.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I guess kind of where I think of the mission accomplished is if he came there to help establish a locker room and establish a company in the best possible way. There's other people I'd rather see. Again, no offense to Jericho, but he's done a good job of, like you said, the Swerves, the Ospreys, the Hangmans, the MJFs. There's so many people there now that I'm like, well, that's who we should be watching. I mean, even Brody King and Bandito and all these other people that are like, this is what I want to see now. So you've done your job, and now I think with where he's at, I also think we love to see him get that Hall of Fame nod that you were talking about before, and maybe have that one last nostalgia run in WWE. But I want to go back to what you said about MJF, and we're talking about jumping around here. We watched AEW just before this show went on the air, and I actually made my notes that MJF promo because that was fantastic. I feel like that was one of the best promos he's done in a long time. And they used to do these, and they'd only show them on Twitter, these like after match promos from guys, especially during the Continental Classic and stuff. And I've always thought, like, this is what they got to put on Dynamite. This is fantastic. You get the emotion out of them. They got the blood on their face and stuff. But yeah, this was the first time it was like a great promo, but it didn't feel like something he had scripted all week to, deliver. It felt personal. And yeah, this is one of the MJF's best promos.
Yeah, I felt like I was the thing in Fantastic Four. I was like, okay, like here we go. Like this we're cashing in on MJF when he says I'm better than you, and you know it. Like this is the guy that we're pointing to, right? Like and if we're talking just like you said, it didn't feel like the naturality of what he was saying, the believability of what he was saying, but also the physicality of what he was saying was there, and you could see it in the eyes. And I'm really interested on the next evolution of what MJF is going to be with a contract that you have to be able to tell, like you have to tell them within 7 days when you want to cash it in. You can't just cash it in or something like that, or you can't just activate it. I forgot however it goes, but I think that's great for Hangman because that allows Hangman to really have some time, and he could work with Briscoe. He could work his way back up with this. And, I want to see, I always describe characters like this as the Mad King, right? Like the Mad King, where you lose everything and you would destroy everything around you just to get back the thing that you lost. And I feel like in wrestling, when I would use the example as Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns lost, he lost the title at WrestleMania 40, and we didn't see the Mad King. We didn't see, like, this guy terrorized a wrestling promotion for over 4 years.
Yeah,
4 years, and he lost the title, and it was just like, well, like, guess I lost. Like, on to the next thing, and not. I'm not pooing on it or anything, but what I'm saying is that we just rarely see I lost everything. I'm going to do any and everything to get it back and really be that monster and switch it to the next level. And I think this is one of the rare times, if not honestly, the first time in modern day that I can remember off the top of my head that we really start like, okay, this is the start of the Mad King MJF. You did everything to get this match the way you wanted it, without even having to use this contract that you earned, and you still didn't get the title. So now you lost the title, you lost you don't get a rematch right to it. So now, and then you get another stipulation put on you using the thing that you earned. This should make you crazy. And this should make this character, the devil, the person that feels they're better than everybody, it should drive them insane. And they should destroy any and everybody in their way to get to Hangman. Now, Hangman must also maintain the threat ability and the stature as MJF is doing that, because then it'll just feel like it should just be a squash match. And that, to me, that merger, that's when professional wrestling is at its best.
I agree with you completely across the board. One, I love this MJF right now because, like you said, he's lost. And so much of MJF's run has always been him having one up on everybody else. And so to see him kind of desperate, to see him kind of like questioning himself, those are the things that make characters interesting.
Yep.
The character that's just like, oh, everyone says like, oh, I'm the egotistical bad guy. Well, cool. There's a lot of egotistical bad guys, but what about the egotistical bad guy who isn't as good as they're supposed to be? So their ego is shattered and they have to find a way to make it better. And they have to, that's always more fascinating to me. And that's where MJF is. And Adam Page, he's a guy, he's been one of my favorites for the past like 5 or 6 years. He's been fantastic. And even today, I thought he was fantastic, where he was saying, if you ever get the guts to sign the contract, I'll beat you before the ink is dry. And I was like, that's such a great line. And then he's taken on the Don Callis family all on his own at first. And those two are classic hero villain characters. And so I'm excited about them. But I want to ask you about AEW tonight, because they were in the 2300 arena, ECW stomping grounds, and I saw some mixed reactions online from people about how they felt about the venue. What was your take watching it? Did you think this looked cool? Did you love it? Did you feel like it looked small? Some people were saying it looks small and quiet, like it looks small and empty, and it didn't look like big leagues. While other people are like, the crowd is awesome and it's a legendary arena. I love it. Where did you fall?
So interesting you say that, because I cut on AEW and I see the arena and I'm like, oh, maybe they couldn't find a place in London to have, to find a bigger venue or whatever, whatever it may be. And then they, showed, like the 2300 arena. And I'm like, wait, they're in Philly?
Yeah.
Like, I thought this, and for some reason, I feel like NXT ran that arena not too long ago, and it looked much bigger. I felt like it because they remodeled it, I believe. So I was confused on why it was like tarped out the way it was, or just why it looked smaller, like why it looked like a TV studio rather than a hot box. Or rather than it. I honestly, and to be frank, like it was one shot reminded me of MLW, and I get it of AEW being the professional wrestling fans, professional wrestling, and it's about the wrestling, but it's just something about the presentation that, look, like it felt like smaller in TNA, but you have these incredible mega world stars a part of the company, on your screen, and it feels like they're just inside of an improv box or something, a black box theater. It felt weird. It did feel weird. It almost took me out of it for a second, but you get kind of over it. And I felt like the crowd was, Megan Rain, I think that's her name, came out, and like that match was really dead until they went to commercial break, and to the credit of, that's what the talk online is, like AEW fans don't care about women's wrestling, and I feel like they don't disprove that at these moments, So having a smaller crowd just doesn't help the argument.
Yeah, I do think I can't remember. I know NXT was there, but I can't remember how it looked specifically. But I think, to your point, the walls were lit up or something instead of just being like black tarped off situation, which made it look small. I think because NXT, I know at least in the Performance Center, they have like screens and stuff, so it adds some life. I can't remember if they brought that on the road or not. But yeah, it felt small. I will say when the crowd was active tonight, the crowd was active, but you're right. When they weren't into it, they weren't into it. And it's funny just how important the crowd is in these situations. But to your point about the women's match, this is what I would say to people. You gotta make noise for people if you want to see more of them. You've got to show the world that you want to see more of them. So like when you have a match, like as I'm watching, I'm looking, you got Statlander, Harley Cameron, Megan Bain, Penelope Ford. In the end, Willow Nightingale shows up. These are all characters that I think could be TV stars out there. But you got to give them the chance. They got to have the opportunity. And it's hard to make time on TV when the crowd is quiet for such long periods of time during their matchups. And so hopefully they get another opportunity, and hopefully the crowd gives them some love so that they can start getting some more stuff. Because the AEW's women's division has always gotten a hard time. And I was like, man, they've got a great locker room. They just need to get some more like story time, right?
Man, we could have this show could be all about the AEW women's division and how it's booked, and how the stars represent themselves, how they have stars, and how they're not represented as well. Like, I have so many thoughts about the AEW's women's division, and all I want to say is Willow Nightingale, as I told her in a drunken stupor when I met her at WrestleMania. She's amazing, and I love her.
Yes.
And I think she's one of the lighthouses that could guide in a lot of different women, if used properly. And I think what Tony is doing is amazing. What Athena has been doing has been incredible. I think it's a travesty of how long this took for her to actually get on the main shows and actually be used properly. And I think that's hurt them in a way, because as you see, whoever she's in a ring with, it helps elevate. And I think, they built a monster in Mercedes, like in a sense of they can't control it, so it's a lot of thoughts to that, and I could dive in deeper, but like I said, I think that's another show. But yes, they have a lot of talent that us as fans need to be able to support, rather we don't like the quote unquote booking or whatever that may be. But remember, supporting the talent is what gets them the correct booking, or what gets them in the correct opportunity to be able to show the world what you already know.
Yeah, exactly. And Willow Nightingale, I just want to double down on what you said. She's someone who like changes the room when she comes in. Like how do you not love Willow Nightingale? How can she come on your TV and you just not want to see her do well? She could be a staple of television in that whole division. I think they've done really well with a lot of stuff like Toni Storm and the things she's done. And I think also Mercedes Moné has done good things, but it's kind of taken the division hostage, having two long-term powerful champions in both spots. And also to Athena, man, I've been saying for the past few years, if Athena did what Athena was doing on Dynamite instead of on Ring of Honor, she would be, for the past few years, in Best Women's Wrestler of the Year awards.
1,000%.
But she's just not seen in as many households. But yeah, if she did everything on Dynamite, she would be hands down like the best women's wrestler in the world right now.
Yes. Jack, when I tell you I was drunk, Jack, I was drunk. I don't black out when I drink, but I was drunk at Wale Mania in Philly.
And well, you're at Wale Mania, so that makes sense.
That's what it's like. Oh, my boy, like I asked for whiskey and Cokes, and they gave me a cup of whiskey with a splash of Coke, and I got two of those. And then my boy just decides to be like, "Oh yeah, I know you like Willow. Hey, let me introduce you." That I expressed how amazing she was, and like to the point where she was like, "Oh, thanks, give me a hug," and I was like, "No." Look, the scene from Billy Madison? The Billy Madison scene where he's like, "Don't ever," and I'm just like, "No, you are special. Please, please." And then I remember being in the back. If anyone finds pictures of Wale and Shelton Benjamin and backstage at Wale Mania, I am somewhere in back of those pictures, just drunk as hell, floating.
Danny C says you did what all would want to do.
The Jack had me. The Jack of the Jack had me going. All right, like it had me just representing all of us, Daddy. Because man, I wake up and think about that moment, like, God damn it.
That's right. If you get the chance to go to Wale Mania, if just anyone who's listening, if you're in town for WrestleMania and you have the chance to go to Wale Mania, you have to go, because it is one of those places where you'll be chatting with your friends, like, oh, there's a huge wrestling star that you can just go say hello to.
Just walk in there and be like, yeah, come on, like, I'll tell you that. And then you have to be like, no, and they're like, okay, man, like you sit here and told me for 13 minutes about how great I am. Let me go walk away.
Anyone who pretends they haven't had too much to drink and done the like, no, you're really great conversation to someone else is lying to you. We've all done it at least once.
It's like, no, listen, you're really It's the Billy Madison scene. It's the bit.
Yeah.
If anyone's not seen, but just look up Billy Madison. And usually that clip is where he's like, "Dude, you stay here." Like, I want to grow up. No,
No,
don't go. He goes to middle school. He ends up going to middle school, and he goes back to his 5th grade. And the kid is asking, "Well, how is it?" He's like, "No, stay here." Jeez.
Fantastic. It's I want to talk to you. We skipped a little bit, but
Yeah.
you had the chance to see Forbidden Door. Any takeaways from it? My quick takeaways, just to set the scene here, is I believe AEW does pay-per-view better than anybody, but I also believe they do them a little bit too long. I have a thing. You got 2. I would say you got 2 hours. Sporting
Yeah.
events, I'll give you 3.
Uh-huh.
After that, I start to get crabby, start to get a little restless.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
other than that, which I've grown to accept, Neesin, it's never changing. They're never going to be shorter. But outside of that, I always think their shows are fantastic. What was your takeaway on Forbidden Door?
Forbidden Door was about main card was about 4.5, going on 5, and I think the pre was 2 hours. So yeah, you're looking at a 7-hour show, right? Look, I am an avid fan for long wrestling shows. Now, not 7-hour long wrestling shows, not even 5. My thing is like,
Yeah.
why am I going to quote unquote pay, or why do I feel like this show is special for 2.5 hours or even 3 hours when I'm getting that on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking about WWE, we're getting anywhere between 7.5 to 8 hours of programming, and that's not including what's going on digitally, or meaning like your Tubies, your extra shows, blah blah blah, right? So
Mhm.
why, like, I want to feel like if I'm watching your blow off show a month, like the thing that you build to every month, I want it to feel a little longer,
Yeah.
That's my take. But for Forbidden Door, I did feel like it was long. I did feel like it was. I felt like it was. You remember when Judgment Day had like 16 segments, and you felt like
Yes.
Raw turned into Judgment Day? I felt like that's what AEW's turning with Don Callis.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was like the Don Callis versus the world show, right? It was WCW versus NWO World Tour.
Right.
Like that's what we
Yes.
were getting. But overall, I do feel like, look, man, the wrestling, if you just want to watch, it reminds me of PWG, just going to PWG and just watching some great graps, just some,
Mhm.
I don't need to know the storyline if I don't want to know the storyline, but if there is a storyline there, it's great. Like I'm even more locked in. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the women's match, like, to me, again, like, there's so many great moments that I hope gets followed up with, or gets played, that gets held up to the highest, like the MJF thing, right? Like
Yeah.
that came out of Forbidden Door. I do think Forbidden Door needs to change their format in some way. I think it's a great opportunity. I get it. It's just like now it's a CMLL, New Japan, and AEW kind of collab. I think we could spark it with maybe adding a MLW in there.
Mhm.
With adding some sort of, I want to say lower tier, but just a different promotion inside of the US, or like give us something completely different, like find a promotion in China or something. I don't know. But I think there's the
Yeah.
opportunity to really be the Forbidden Door, like really be the surprise. What are we getting? What do we have? And that's kind of what I've been looking for, and I haven't gotten that. But overall, it was a good show to me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a blast, and to your point, it was long, but I had a good time watching it. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah, I don't really know what the magic answer is for making Forbidden Door work as far as
Yeah.
the crossover. Part of me wants to say, like, I I, I don't want to make it sound like Survivor Series Raw versus SmackDown, but maybe if you had some kind of like which company gets more
Mm.
wins or something. But I don't know if maybe if you did like a Survivor Series type thing, New Japan versus AEW, and just made it like a, you know, cheer for your company. I feel like that probably wouldn't work, but you know, I mean, something to make it feel like. I feel like they had an opportunity to make it like the Olympics, where you're cheering for your country or your team or whatever. But I don't know a good way to do that to make it. You know, it's easy to say that, but then when it's like, okay, well, here's your match. I'm like, well, it looks the same as the other Forbidden Doors. You know,
I think you're onto something. I think that's the thing, right? Like the Raw versus SmackDown for Survivor Series didn't work because it didn't have any stakes. Like it's just for bragging rights, right? And they said it was bragging rights. Like it doesn't mean anything. But when you think about, essentially this is an all-star show. So when you think about the MLB All-Star, like what really makes it really work is that the advantage of the home team on the National League or American League, right? Like that was like the thing, like whatever side wins gets the. And so I think it'll be great if they use, I always say Survivor Series is a kickoff to WrestleMania. And it should be whatever team wins kind of gets a favorable position to in Royal Rumble numbers, right? Like that way you kind of have this thing, everything's always connecting. So if we're looking at it like that, then maybe that this is the road to Wrestle Kingdom, right?
yeah,
Like so because they booked the main event for Wrestle Kingdom, like of whoever wins the G4, right? Like that's like whoever
G1,
was the G1, the G1. So yeah, so what if it's something like that? Like this has ramifications on either all out and or our plus Wrestle Kingdom. I think that's something that'll really help amplify, like, okay, this is not just, oh, we're just seeing New Japan and AEW go at it and then they disappear, like, oh, this means something to both companies. And this is why this pay-per-view is important.
Yeah, you could even do like I love one night tournaments. And so you could even do something like that where you have like 8 people, 4 from New Japan, or maybe 2 from AEW, 2 from New Japan, 2 from CMLL, and then like you said, maybe 2 to
RH, make ROH a real like a actual program, inside your program.
Right. Yeah, make it count.
Yeah.
Something. But I want to talk a little bit. We've chatted a lot about AEW, and I love the chat about AEW, but we do cover some WWE stuff as well. And I feel like I want to talk to you a bit about NXT because they had Heatwave, and they also had their show NXT yesterday. Thoughts on Heatwave and NXT? To kind of give you my thoughts real quick, the thing that I walked away from with it is Obafemi and Javon Evans are 2 absolute superstars, and I could see them being a lifetime rivalry between these 2 guys. I feel like they had chemistry. They're both. I don't know how old Obafemi is. I believe Javon Evans is like 14 years old. I can't remember his exact age, but and a half. Yeah. But I could see these guys having a rivalry that goes on 15, 20 years. I thought it blew me away.
So I'm old enough to remember when Draped and Gold was an NXT exclusive show, right?
Yes,
and so seeing what NXT has become and seeing what Draped and Gold has become, it's a beautiful thing. And seeing wrestlers like Javon Evans versus Omafemi and seeing him really evolve so quick. People, like a year ago, Javon Evans wasn't this Javon Evans, right? Like he's been on SmackDown, he's faced Randy Orton, he's done some incredible things, and now we're seeing him in a main event, and it actually felt like, I honestly felt like, oh, he's gonna walk away with this title. Like actually, like when they first put him with Obafemi, I'm like, okay, this won't be believable. But then I start thinking, like, are we getting Ray versus Brock? Like, what are we, or Eddie Guerrero versus Brock? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Because this is starting to feel very believable with Javon Evans. And I thought, like you said, I think they're married. I think they're gonna be married in the ring for some time. They're gonna be dance partners for some time. And I really hope, like, remember when NXT used to just have matches on Raw, like Raw 3 hours? Like, I want to see them just put that on SmackDown. Like, I want to see them
Yeah.
put Obafemi versus Javon Evans on SmackDown with no warm up. Just go. Like, hey, we're
Yeah.
having an exhibition match. Just go, because I think they're one of those. They're one of those matches that will have you hooked from the start, and I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So yeah, man. Oh, but overall, Heat Wave. Let me tell you that Lonnie Jordan,
Mhm.
Lonnie Jordan. That is, if we're talking about Javon Evans coming around, I think she has came 180. Like, just
Yeah.
the attitude she's found, the grit she's found, the tenacity she's found. I mean, the moveset was already there, but it now just has it was so smooth because she was a gymnast. I think now it just has enough roughness on those edges, is not just to make it feel like, okay, she's a threat. Like, she's a threat. She's also someone you want to get behind, but also someone you want to say boo to at the same
Mhm.
time. I thought, to me, she was the standout in that match. Lola Vice won, etc. That was the match to me that really stood
Yeah.
out. Because those three women could easily go on a main roster today and hold their own. I feel like, with personality wise, I feel like now microphone wise.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, I love the Heat Wave. Heat Wave started giving me that black and gold feeling. Heat Wave
Yeah.
got like, all right, these are all stars, and all stars that didn't come from like the indie, like a lot of those stars didn't come from the indies. We could
Right.
count them on one hand.
Right.
So kudos to them, man.
Yeah, I love what you said about Kaylani Jordan too, because she's a perfect example of, so often we're like, oh, this person's main roster ready, they can go,
Yeah.
and then you see someone like Kaylani Jordan, I thought was great for a long time, but yeah, it's just that subtle, like, now when she acts tough, I believe it, because
Yep.
she was so lovable before. Whenever she tried to act tough, like, come on, Kaylani, you're
Yeah.
lovable.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
now you're right. I feel like I'd be like, okay, she'll mess you up, but that's just one of those little things like she figured out. That now when she goes to the main roster, it'll be like, oh, it works now, and just a credit to the team over at the Performance Center for being able to do that. I was kind of bummed out about that when TNA got involved, because people like Kaylani Jordan weren't on TV as much anymore. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is, the crossover is cool, but like, are we losing Thea Hale? Are we losing Kaylani Jordan? Are we losing these people? But she's back, and I think she's better than she's ever been. Um, the fact that NXT is able to get so many great wrestlers, even though they're losing wrestlers constantly to call ups and everything else, it's very. I always compare it to a college sports team, like a college basketball team, where, oh, you won the championship, great, half your team is now going to go enter the draft, and you got to start all over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what NXT has to do every year. We're like, oh, we have all these stars. Well, I guess they're on SmackDown now. Time to do something new. I do feel like right now it's a little top heavy in NXT. I feel like Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, even like Ricky Saints, and why am
Uh,
I forgetting Ethan
Ethan
Page?
Page. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I feel like they're in a league beyond just about everyone else. And I feel like if someone else stepped up to them, it feels a little bit like, you don't got a chance. Come on. These are the guys. Like, Josh Briggs is cool, but I'm like, Josh Briggs, you're not beating Obafemi. Come on. What are we
You know,
talking about?
and that sucks. And that, if again, if you're old enough to remember when Evolve had their pay-per-view on the WWE network, okay, and Josh
Mhm.
Briggs was the champion. Austin Theory, I think it was him versus Austin Theory. I think that was
I
like
think
the
it was,
championship
yeah.
match, right? I said to my co-host Pingle,
Mhm.
those two guys are future WWE champions. Like,
Yeah.
both of those guys. What happened with Josh Briggs, I have no clue. Like, I am baffled to see just how do we get here with him? And I think it's just like finding his way with it. And I hope he does in whatever fashion. But yes, you're completely right. I think Ethan Page should be on the main roster as
Mhm.
Chelsea Green's like counsel, or just as her
Yeah.
advisor, right? As her Canadian advisor. Boom, have him be on the main roster. I think I think it needs to clear the way for Ricky Saints to actually be Ricky Saints. I think, like you said, it's so top heavy. Like get Trick to the main roster somehow. Get Ethan Page to the main roster somehow. Have it clear some space where you could have Javon Evans and Ricky Saints and Oba, and then you get Oba to the main roster ASAP. I just think if you get Oba to the main roster, you don't have a main roster that he could really like run through.
Right.
Like, because what is he gonna run through Braun Breaker? Like, that's not gonna happen. He's not, he's not gonna run through Bronson Reed. He's not gonna run through
the bloodline
or like maybe like a Rusev Sheamus, but then what is Rusev Sheamus? It is tricky with Oba, but I do think there's room for Ethan Page. I do think there's room for a Trick to tell stories and to even help Melo, or just like have a Melo Trick storyline or whatever the case may be, and really help propel him into the next level where we all see he should be. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It's top heavy and it needs to clear out. Like a draft needs to happen. But now maybe with ESPN, man, now we're gonna see an ESPN draft,
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, I mean, that would be a big deal for someone like Trick Williams to be the first overall draft pick on the ESPN draft, because he definitely feels like he's in that. Remember when Braun Breaker was teaming with Baron Corbin, and it was kind of like they were great, but it was also very much like, okay, they're just giving Braun something to do till he gets the call because he's ready. That's where Trick feels right now, where it's like, it's cool he's TNA champion, but it definitely feels like we just got to give him something to do until he gets called up.
I do feel like the same way this helped Kalani, I feel like the same way this helped Trick. Like before, I'm like, oh, Trick is ready. Like Philly, I thought that was like Trick's sign off. Like, okay, he's gonna start working his way to the main roster. But I see it now. Like I see the growth in him being basically like Hollywood Trick, and really being able to own and try to flip the crowd's chanting for him. He's flipping them and making them boo at the end. Like he's doing all the little things, and the aggression in the ring as well. Like same thing. You feel like when Trick steps into a ring with an Oba, you're like, oh, he could walk away with the title. Like got it. And I think that's important. And I it just reminds me more. It's like, oh yeah, like this is why we're wrestling fans, and this is why Shawn Michaels and Triple H are actually in control, because they're like, you just need a little more shine on you, just a little more shine, little bit.
Yeah, this TNA run with Trick, I think, has really done it for him, because this new version of him, he was always very self-confident, but like this new like rock star, very almost Shawn Michaels-esque version of him is fantastic. I got to ask you a question about, I'm going to tie AEW and NXT together here.
Sure.
For a long time, people said AEW has too many titles, too many championships. At Heatwave, Ava announced that the Speed Championships were coming to NXT. Now, if you do a little bit of counting, that means now NXT has more championships than AEW does, and more champions than AEW does, if you're not counting Ring of Honor and you're not counting TNA. So if we keep it just NXT, just AEW, do you think NXT has too many championships, or do you think that AEW still has too many championships? What's your championship count thoughts?
It's about checks and championships, man. That's my thoughts. Now I think the Speed Championship is easy. I mean, is interesting. So the Speed Championships were, if anyone doesn't know watching this, they were made because they did a deal with X. So to have these 3-minute matches, I think they're 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes, but to have these fast matches in a sense and develop a championship to make people want to watch them, to help give a MacGuffin / storyline so people could watch, right? But it was a deal that they were getting paid for, so they were exclusively on X. Just like why we haven't gotten the Mixed Match Challenge, because that was exclusively on Facebook, right? So by bringing them into NXT, I think they see the value in having the fast matches and being able to get a revenue from them. and using, and I think it's not everyone has CW, but
Mhm.
and also NXT, how I watch NXT, VPNs, shout out. I watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
And Netflix is a worldwide property. So if everyone around the globe, if over 600 million people have Netflix, if you have something that it's clippable by Netflix and that's going to run on their Instagram, because Netflix on Instagram, they show everything. So if they
Mhm.
have something to show on there, that does nothing more but drive revenue, and that allows that allows you to pay your wrestlers, that allows to pay the company, and blah 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 blah. So my first thoughts is that I always think business, right?
Yeah.
Like I can see that. Don't lose that because clearly it's valuable. Now, are the championships going to take time, or are we going to ever have a card where it's just every single championship, every single match is a championship match because we have, affinity amount of, just like the affinity gauntlet behind me? Like, no, I don't want that. Like,
Yeah.
let's not get there. I do think there's an opportunity like they did with the NXT titles and
Mhm.
our tag team titles, where they merged them with the women's tag team titles. They merged them with the main roster titles. I
Yeah.
do think there's opportunity to merge these with probably like the North American title, or to merge them in, down the line. If it bears fruit, though, I'm assuming they made a lot of money off of merch. Maybe they sold the speed belts. Maybe they have a speed division coming on the video game or something like that. Some sort of like,
Yeah.
speed match thing. So yeah, so it doesn't really bother me, just because I feel like we're not going to see it. We'll probably see it more on Evolve than we will see it on NXT.
When they first started doing the speed matches, I was very pessimistic, like a lot of people probably
Yeah,
were. Oh, this is like a 24/7 rule thing or whatever,
yeah.
silly. But if you watch, they're actually it's kind of fun to like have
Banger.
matches that are going to be like boom, 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 and you're going to see it and it's going to go. And I to your point, I don't know if I could do like a whole like 2 hour show of 3 minute matches or whatever, but it is kind of exciting knowing that when a match starts, you're going to see the end in 3 minutes. Like you can't
Yeah,
turn away. You can't. There isn't going to be a commercial break in the middle of it. This is going to happen, and especially as people's attention spans continue to shrink, and as people continue to move towards watching their TV on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, I
yeah,
could actually see this potentially. I think it's very smart. It could be a very like the way we see a lot of pro wrestling in the future is in short bursts like that instead of the longer matches. I mean, the longer matches probably always be there, but I could see this being a bigger part of pro wrestling than I think uh, a lot of people in the short term think it could be.
I think we're looking at it. We're looking at it the right way, but we're missing the point of those commercial breaks are 2 minutes and 45 seconds to 3 minutes.
Mhm.
So if they're just if they're showing them during a commercial break, are they having it during a commercial break where it's also could be for a live audience? They don't always have to air them, right? And
Mhm.
they can have it for a live audience, and then, like you said, drop them off on the clips, on the reels, on the TikToks, etc. That's a they're not wasting any other time, like I think they're taking advantage of the time they have inside the arena with the audience, keeping them engaged. We talk about bangers. Ricochet and Andrade was putting on bangers. They
Mhm.
gave Candice LeRae time to have some bangers. I think Soul is a speed champion right now. So Ruka is a women's speed champion, I believe.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's double champ. Yeah. So she was putting on some bangers. So I think to be able to have this in NXT, and like if you do watch it on Netflix, they don't show commercials. So it's either they show like this weird like it's a weird thing like with all the wrestlers, or it's something that goes on in between. So to have that as a commercial break, like for global, I think it'll really help for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a cool thing, and I think it's cool that you joined us, Neeson. We didn't talk a
Ah,
lot about Raw
thank you.
or SmackDown, but we'll get back to that next week. But man, it was great chatting with you. We'll have to have you on more often. Um, Everyone in the chat and everyone who's watching, like, comment, share, subscribe, 5-star review. I don't know if I plugged that or not, but Neesin, let the world know where they can find you and all the other stuff you're working on.
Oh man, Stay Fly Life. Find me there. You can also find me probably now at like every music festival working, or every other thing. But yeah, Stay Fly Life, man. You can find me there. THS Wrestling, THS, that hashtag show as well. You can find all the interviews we do there. Like we have one with Swerve right now. We have one with Speedball up right now as well. We have one, if you're not watching New Rock Stars, we have one with Evan Voss. So it's a couple of them. Yeah, find them. Tell me how your dog is doing.
Yeah, always good stuff over the hashtag show. The interviews are incredible. I recommend everyone go check those out. You can check me out at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I just did ring announcing for Championship Wrestling. Those shows will air. Check local listings. But also, I'm going to be doing ring announcing for the Santino Bros LA Rumble. I'm even representing my Santino Bros shirt today. That is on Friday. You can check that out on Triller. It's the LA Rumble. It's like the Royal Rumble for people who don't know. It's 30 people over the top, same exact bit. Winner gets a shot at the Santino Bros Championship. It's a fun way to see a lot of people who are on the up and up in California. So that's the best place. Before we go, I always like to let the host or the co-host have the last words. Neesin, close us out.
Cody Rhodes, your time is up. Your time is now. We need to see someone else with that title. That's my last words.
Da, da, da.